We've got some great news.
Great new rates on new
and used car loans.
New car loans as low as 1.99%. Used car loans as low as 2.49%.
I save money.
And that's not all. We refinance trucks and RVs.
Refinance your car and save.
Refinance a Columbia Green Federal Credit Union.
And save on your payments.
You will save.
Save now.
And save money. The Coxsackie and Hudson Lending Centers.
All right, welcome to Hudson Valley 360's The Press Box, presented by Columbia Green Federal Credit Union. This week we have Kevin Rooney with us, Kevin Rooney Jr., who has a lot of big things coming on. But we want to bring it back a little bit to how you first got started. You grew up in boxing. You're from Hudson, multi-sport athlete, went to Fordham University, and then you got back into boxing. How did you go from Fordham University back into the sport?
I mean, it's funny how it's kind of come full circle. So, I mean, when I was at Fordham, I mean, even before I got there, I knew that, it was my dream to work in the professional boxing industry. I mean, growing up around the industry, people I think always kind of expected me to follow in my father's footsteps as a trainer. Right. That was really never, kind of on my path. I worked with some of my father's fighters. I've worked with other fighters as well. I didn't see that for myself. I wanted to be more on the business side, the promotional or management side. So when I graduated from Fordham, I had reached out to Joe DeGuardia, who was a promoter based out of the Bronx. He was actually a Fordham graduate. So I had reached out to him, just kind of, expressed my interest to get involved in the industry. Obviously I had the namesake, but, outside of my college degree, I really didn't have any experience, working on, say the event side or the management side. So, Joe kind of gave me a chance. I started working with him. At first it was a public relations role. That kind of evolved into a event coordination and management, and then I was with Joe for about 3.5 years, before my time ended there. I was essentially, his right-hand man, helping him, run the company. Right. From there, I started working with DeBell Entertainment. Lou kind of poached me away from Joe. And for me, it was a great opportunity where, Lou's company, while Joe was, doing, great things on the local level and had some, TV dates with, ESPN and whatnot, Lou was a major player in the boxing industry. He was a former head at HBO Sports, right. Started up his own promotional company, had promoted, multiple world champions. At the time was working with Sergio Martinez. That was his biggest fighter. So for me, it was a kind of a no-brainer. I was still competing in my boxing career at the time, and I knew that also kind of enabled me to fight on bigger shows on the undercard. So it was a good move in that sense. It got a little difficult though. We were just so busy. With Lou, for me and my training career, it was kind of tough, and it was kind of got to the point where I needed to decide if I was going to be a full-time fighter or work full-time on the business side, because I was doing both, and it was just it was too much. I was too run down. I really couldn't give my all to either, right. And it was affecting me, on both levels. So I had the Fordham degree. My mom was really kind of pushing me into, not going that route. So
what did she want you to do?
She wanted me to work on the promotional side. She wanted me to do anything than get punched in the face for a living. So,
that's smart work.
And at the end of the day, it was most fighters you'll see are looking to get into something after boxing and be involved in boxing, and I was kind of going that different route. So obviously there's much more longevity on the business side of the sport, than even the most successful guys. The height of their careers are 3 to 5 years, and it's a rough sport. It's a tough sport to make a living in. There's no doubt about that.
Now, you had 6 professional fights, had a 4-2 record. Last fight in May of 2012. What made you step away at that point and just say, that's it, I'm done?
I never had expected to lose. I never really wanted to lose. I don't think anyone anticipates losing. Sure. So, it was and then again, too, not even to make excuses. The first loss I had was very controversial. It was against a southpaw. I had never fought a southpaw before. I didn't know that I was fighting a southpaw, which it means you're left-handed. I didn't know I was fighting a southpaw until the fight started. We were told the kid was right-handed. He wasn't. So that was a little tricky. So I lost that fight. And in my mind, I said, I'm going to give this one more shot. If I lose again, with a 4-2 record and, so much else on the line from the business side, I just felt like it was, kind of a high risk, low reward. So if I lost again, in my mind, I felt that, I was going to have to just focus on the business side. And then again, I was scheduled to fight at the Times Union Center. The fight was going to be on ESPN. 5 days before the fight was to happen, the kid I was fighting, who was a kid from up in Albany, Nick Costaldi, who was right-handed, pulled out of the fight with a broken rib. They put in another guy, an undefeated kid, who was a southpaw. So I had at least 4 days to prepare, but I mean, for people in the boxing industry who know, fighting a southpaw is a totally different element. And it was, hey, look, I lost. The fight was also supposed to be a 6-rounder. It got reduced down to a 4-rounder due to timing issues. So, it was an unfortunate situation, but at the end of the day, it was all, a learning experience. I feel that I was, a better fighter than maybe my record showed, and I wish I kind of got to pursue it a little bit longer, but from the business side and for the longevity of it, it was definitely the right decision to make.
Also, you were 4-2, but people I think have to realize that you got into it after college. You started, you started the Golden Gloves, which you went really far in after college. Most of these guys are starting when they're kids,
teenagers. I think my whole career was expedited. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing too, where it was, and not to blame anyone. I was the one who accepted the fights, but you see guys in my position who, if when they don't have a big amateur career, and if they do have an expedited career in the pro ranks, you take a guy like a Julio Cesar Chavez or even a Canelo Alvarez, they turn pro over in Mexico, and they're fighting, guys that are living, working out of garages, that they're just, pulling into these fights and they have no chance. But that's how you build your record, you build your confidence, you build your experience. I kind of didn't go that route. You know what I mean? I was fighting on these big cards in New York, and
right off the bat.
With the legislation, you can't put me in with a guy who I'm going to blow through in 20 seconds. With everything with the health laws in place now, you had to be fighting real guys. So there was 2 ways I could have went down south and fought every other week and built my record. But speaking with my father, we were confident in my ability, and we said again, we're kind of late in the game here. Let's find out right now, how good we are and how quickly we can move. And fortunately, I couldn't pull the trigger against southpaws.
That's the southpaws. It ruined your career, but
undefeated against right-handers.
That's it. There you go. Hey, 4-2 is not bad.
No,
not at all.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of expediting your career, on the business side too, it's been quite a whirlwind of the last 8 to 10 years, where you've just went from Star Boxing to DeBella to. You're a movie consultant. You've been a manager, promoter. Currently, you're taking a new avenue with the Brooklyn Fit Boxing. That's a lot to do in the last, again, 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's been fast. It's been quick. You know what I mean? That's what it's. Especially for me, when even before I left DeBella, it was like. Me and our vice president, we worked hand in hand, but I got to the point where I'm traveling around the world. I'm speaking at Deontay Wilder's press conferences, promoting the heavyweight champion of the world. It's not Lou there. It was me, and it was great. It was a great experience. I built great relationships in the industry. Through my work with Chris Algieri and HBO. He fought Pacquiao. He's had major fights. It was everything. It moved quick, and I think people would always be surprised, at how young I was. But for me, I grew up in the sport. You know what I mean? Like I was around my father. I was around Vinny Paz. I was around Bill Caton and all of these guys. That I could kind of pick their brains and learn from them. But like when I said it started, I think it's kind of come full circle in the sense where I'm not going to be a trainer at these gyms, but like now I'm owning a boxing gym, and it went from, are you going to follow in your father's footsteps? No, I want to work on the promotional side. I went from the promotional side to the management side, and now I'm owning a boxing gym. So it's it's a crazy world
for sure.
And this also with the Brooklyn Fit Boxing, you're not just in charge of a couple gyms. You're in charge of bringing the whole system, which has 50 plus gyms overseas, to America, which is, again, you're in your early 30s. Guys at your age really aren't getting those opportunities to do something like that.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I've truly been blessed, with the opportunities that have been presented to me, and I think that, I take, everything with, precaution, where it's, hey, look, I was with Joe DeGuardia, and because of my work with Joe DeGuardia, I got to go to Ludabella, and I can't thank Joe enough for the opportunity. He gave me coming out of college, I had the namesake, but like he didn't know if I was going to be able to, withstand the pressure and be an asset to his company. But he gave me a chance. That chance I was able to parlay into working for Ludabella. And through Ludabella, I met Sergio Martinez. I built a relationship with Sergio and his management team, and now through that, I'm able to parlay that into the Brooklyn Fit. This is a huge opportunity for me, and for my partner, and for the brand as well. Like I've said, in the article, we're not the first company to do this. There's other gyms that are out there that do have a similar thought process and have a similar, class, but, we're confident in our product that, we're differentiating from those, and we're also, improving on them. We think that we have the future of the boxing and kickboxing and fitness class, and what they're doing in Spain right now and other parts of Europe is incredible. They just had the second annual Brooklyn Fit Boxing World Championships, which is sponsored by the WBC Boxing, and it's fantastic. I mean, they were sending me, I wasn't over there, but they were sending me videos, and these people really get into it. There was like a couple thousand people there that came out for it. It was like a big event, big party, and to see that, with the gyms that they've been able to do in Spain, we think that, we're really just going to be able to kind of pick off that steam, and continue to build the brand here in the U.S. and also worldwide. I mean, they're in negotiations right now with 5 other countries to open in 2018. So on top of what we're going to be doing here in the U.S. plus the additional countries that are going to come on board, it's the sky really is the limit.
That's awesome. Talk to us about Brooklyn Fit Boxing. There's people out there that might not know exactly how it works or what you do or what the goals are. How does it all work?
So, for us, we're going to own and operate, like we said, here in New York. Basically the New York, Connecticut area, the whole New England area, I would say as well. But then we're also their exclusive U.S. partner. So when, say, someone in Chicago or Texas or California, wherever it is, sees that they have a market for this and they want to open a Brooklyn Fit Boxing, we'll be their franchisee in that they'll come here. We'll be their franchisor. That they'll come here to New York. They'll see our headquarters. We'll train them. We'll train their managers. We'll train their staff. We'll go out there. We'll be there for the opening. We'll provide support staff throughout the year, getting them up and running, and then also throughout the year, handling a lot of their back-end CRM and marketing material. It's a very complex situation. I think that's also kind of, too, which separates us from the other gyms out there that are kind of doing that, where it's like, so to give you an example, like if you buy the Title Boxing franchise, you're kind of just getting their brand. You know what I mean? They allow you to use the brand. They allow you to put up posters and put up their bags, but that's about it. And that for us, when I've said, we'll be able to help out other fighters, where it's just, again, we're not just saying here, open, pay us money, open this gym, and that's it, you're on your own, good luck. You know what I mean? We're going to be there every step of the way, especially for us being that it is a startup company here in the U.S. Like, we want and we need this to succeed. So if we have our gyms that are doing great, but then we have a gym in another area that's not doing so well, that's bad. Looks bad on us. You know what I mean? It's our job. It's our job to make these successful everywhere and to be able to show that these can work in any market. It's not just in New York or Los Angeles or Florida or Chicago, these big cities, that this can work in an upstate area or a rural area or Mississippi or Missouri or wherever it is. Our plan is to open, hundreds of centers in the next 5 years. And, we feel very confident that we have the ability to do that.
Nice.
And, I mean, I think they picked the right guy. You've,
Sure.
Again, going back to your full career, right, you've been around the sport, you've been successful in pretty much everything that you've done.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of, too, what they've seen. I mean, with my work with Sergio and his management company, they're like, I mean, look, there's no one in the boxing industry, and as big as the boxing industry, it is a small world. Right. But they're like, there's no one in the industry that has anything bad to say about you. There's every top manager, or promoter, or fighter, or trainer either knows you or knows of you, or there's 1 or 2 degrees of separation between you. So for them, they definitely see me as someone who will be able to use my relationships, existing, and then also build new relationships throughout the industry that we can go out and say, hey, like, look, this is a great opportunity for you. I mean, I've been in touch and been speaking with a number of fighters already, that are very interested in this. And, like I said, we said, when I was talking to you through email, it's if a guy is somewhat of a local celebrity in his area, and he opens up one of these centers, and then he's saying on his social media platforms and then in his interviews, like, hey, I just opened this center, this gym, come by, try it out, everyone's going to kind of gravitate towards that. Right. And the workouts are great. You know what I mean? I did the workout. I mean, it's intense. You know what I mean? It's not like it's you're just going to be going in there and you're getting this crappy workout. I mean, it's the real deal. And I think that's also too, with the technology we have and the patents that we have on board, it's like it's for everybody. You know what I mean? Kids, women, children of all ages can do this, and it's fun and it's exciting.
Nice.
That's great. Now, talking a little bit of general boxing, anybody that's coming up that's kind of under the radar that you still keep an eye on?
Under the radar.
I mean, obviously you've worked with Sergio Martinez, you've worked with Chris Algieri. People know those guys. But were there any guys that before you got out of the promotional side that you were kind of keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I mean, Sergio has a kid. It was the last signing that I did before I left Abella, and he has a kid. We signed out of Spain, and he's tremendous. He's actually fought on Showbox twice now. His name is Jonathan Fernandez, and he's a super exciting kid. He's undefeated. I think he's 14-0 now or 13-0 with his WBC youth champion. He is he's a workhorse. I mean, he just breaks you down. He throws a ton of punches. He's a very good boxer. He has above average speed, but he's super exciting to watch. Sergio is very excited about him. I think he's going to kind of be like the next guy from the Spain area to kind of carry that torch. But it's very interesting too to see what Matthew Macklin is doing. Obviously I have a great relationship with him. He has his company MTK Global that is it's really taking off. What they've been able to do in the last couple of years over in the UK is extraordinary. I think Matthew has almost 140 fighters signed to his management company right now, and that's just going to continue to build. He just signed Carl Frampton. He just signed the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury, for his comeback. So, and he's got Mick Conlon, who's fighting December 9th. He's a very interesting guy, the Irish kid who won the silver medal and then lost in the Olympics. He's fighting next Saturday at MSG. His pro debut was at St. Patrick's Day at the Madison Square Garden in the theater. Still 5,000 people, and he was the headlining bout, and he sold it out. And I think that's a tremendous testament of his fan base and what the future holds for him. So I'm very excited to see, what happens with Matthew's stable of fighters as he continues to grow. And I think he's going to be looking to, probably make a splash over here in the UK. And it's going to be interesting to see. You also have, Eddie Hearn, who's coming over now here to the UK. He signed Danny Jacobs. I think that the boxing world is definitely doing very well. It's, there's a lot of intriguing fights that are to me be made out there. And we'll see how it goes.
Now, before we let you go, you're in Hudson all the time. You're coming up, you said, this weekend for the winter walk.
I can't miss the winter walk.
You're at 90% of the restaurants in Hudson. What's your choice? Best place to go, best place to eat, best place to get a drink in Hudson?
Governor's Tavern. It's my spot.
That's your spot, okay.
I love it there. I mean, they got a great selection of beers.
That is the old Iron Horse, right?
That's the old Iron Horse. If you haven't been in there, you have to stop by. I mean, it's a tremendous atmosphere for what they were able to do to that bar. I mean, I was in the Iron Horse before a couple times, and to go in there, and it's a historic building. It is historic. So I know that they had it wasn't easy to open. Let's just say that, because I know with the historic building, you have to keep the integrity of the building, and you can't change certain things. So what they've been able to do is, I mean, the place is beautiful. They have this big, huge painting or picture on the wall of Hudson from like the early 1800s, I think, and it's crazy to see that, like, Warren Street. Obviously, it's changed a lot, but like the structure, and there's still some buildings that are the same from way back then. And they have great food. They have a great burger from Kinderhook Farms. It's tremendous. The place is awesome. Check it out if you haven't been there.
Thanks for the tip.
And people might run into you this weekend if you're there on the Winter Walk. It's your birthday. Happy birthday a little bit early. So
thank you so much, guys.
Anybody sees Kevin out, drinks are on you guys.
Buy him a drink.
Awesome, guys. I hope to see you up there, and thanks for having me on the show.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, guys. Talk soon. You too.
All right.
All right, now...
so great to see another young cat doing well. Man.
Yeah, he's doing very well.
Doing very well.
And if he is planning on bringing the Brooklyn fit boxing to the area, I would definitely be interested in going to it. It just looks like a great thing looking at it online. But to get away from boxing a little bit, we want to run through really quickly some early hoops action. So you've seen a couple teams already this year. Catskill a couple times, Hudson the other night.
Yep.
What'd you take away from Catskill?
Well, Catskill, we had Doug Lampman, Catskill coach, kid last week. I couldn't get him to say it, but I'll say it for him. Catskill is the team to beat. All right. I mean, this team, they won their own tournament. They defeated Coleman, then they defeated Ravenna in the championship game, and they did that without their 6'6" center, Justin Worth, who was out of town for the weekend with a family commitment. But they have everything you could want in a team. They have size, they have shooters, they have speed, they play defense, and they're well coached. Devon Hay, who's only a sophomore, but got maybe 6'5". His dad, Henry Hay, was a great Catskill player, legend over there in Catskill. He's been working with him. You can see it's very exciting to see to a young guy like this that has all the tools and is improving. I saw him last year as a JV player, now as a varsity player. You can see the improvement and the fact that he's developing some really nice low post moves. Sky's the limit for that young man. He's had games of 22 already, had 20 the other night in their Patroon Conference opener, a big win over Rensselaer, and doing very well. Of course, Youssef Bushquire, one of those down and dirty type kids that gets in there and is always around the ball, always making plays. He'll score you 20 points one night, 6 points the next, but that doesn't mean he's not contributing. When he's scoring those 6 points, he's doing other things, rebounding, coming up with steals, playing great defense. Trajan Ivory stepped in when Justin Worth was away, did a great job in the tournament, and really looking good. A force on the boards and can score as well. And of course, Justice Brantley, who one of my picks to be Patroon Conference
early MVP,
just a great player. And like I say, they've got a nice bench, and sky's the limit.
They're a very good team. Speaking of potential MVPs, Cole Ackerman over in Greenville has had a really great start to the season.
Cole's
39 points first game, 30 points second, 21 the other night.
90 points in 3 games. Even I can figure out that's 30 points a game. Okay, I know it's only 3 games, but the thing with Cole, he's 63 points shy of 1,000 for his career now, so you got to keep an eye on that. But he's one of those kids that just can just square up and bomb from anywhere on the court, and more often than not, those shots go in. I mean, he's a force, and he's going to lead Greenville to some victories this year. We mentioned Hudson; they haven't missed a beat. They lost a lot through graduation. The past 2 Patroon Conference championships are theirs. They've won 35 games in a row in the Patroon, and like I say, they got a lot to look forward to as well. Looking forward to that December 12th game over in Catskill when the natural rivals, Hudson and Catskill, hook up for the first time this season. They play twice, of course, every year. That'll be the first one this time. That's going to be a game to watch. I think it's one of those games where you better get there early or you're going to be turned away because they can only fit so many in the Catskill gym, and then everybody's going to want to see that one. Willie Jones, big game, first varsity start, had 19 points. Daquan Griffin, another sophomore. Willie being a freshman, 9th grader. Daquan, a sophomore, had 15 points in his varsity. Actually, he played last year late in the season with varsity, but this was his first varsity start. He had 15 points. We had 2 other kids in double figures for Hudson, so that's what Hudson does. They don't look for one guy to score 30 points a game. They spread it around.
Now over at Maple Hill, we have a few guys that are going to definitely turn some heads. Nate Mannion's been doing well. Evan Culpa, Nick Butler, all have good seasons. We have Kiksaki, Gil Bell, John Ecker, also 2 guys good starts to the season the other night.
Question.
Takana Kills, which is an interesting team. Russ Beck, yes. I think you could throw his hat in the MVP conversation.
No doubt about it.
I don't think anybody is really more important to their team than this guy. And he had a good game his first go.
Yes, he did. The Patroon gets a bad rap all the time. Oh, it's not as strong as some of these other leagues up towards Albany. Let me tell you something. You got 3 kids in at the top of the Patroon in Justice Brantley, Russ Beck, and Cole Ackerman, just to name a few, that are as good as any kids around. Russ is one of my favorite players. This kid is intense. He comes intense, and he stays intense the entire game. Had 24 in a big win. First official game as head coach for Coach Tom Super. It was a victory, double overtime win over Germantown. They won 61-58 at a buzzer beater at the end of the second overtime period by Trevor New. But Russ stepped up big time in that one. And speaking of which, Germantown is going to be heard from too. They play in a very weak league in the Central Hudson Valley League. We all know that. Mm-hmm. But they're embarking on a challenging non-league schedule, and I think that's going to help them down the line. They're 1-2 to start out the season, but that's kind of misleading because they're playing some pretty good teams. They played Ichabod Crane, they played Rensselaer, and then they played Takana Kills, so they're playing up, you might say. And Germantown will be heard from, especially in the postseason in the Class D ranks.
Definitely. And speaking of Ichabod, they're having a decent start. They had their own home tournament, and they went to Rensselaer's tournament. Right?
Yep, they won that.
Lost their first league game to Voorheesville. But Christian Bassano, Chad Salazar, they're both doing pretty well over there.
Salazar's a great shooter, and he can work inside as well. So he's probably their mainstay. But Regasta's a beast. He's another guy. He's like Russ Beck, one of those guys that down, dirty lunch pail, hard-working type of guy that's going to get in there, stick his nose in everybody's business, and come out on top. He's a tough rebounder. Had a 25-point effort in the championship game win over Germantown. He was the MVP of the Rensselaer tournament, and he's going to be heard from this year. And not only scoring, but on the boards as well.
And then also, lastly, Cara Durham has a couple guys that can definitely put some points in. Troy Minot is one of them.
And Jacob Hall, another kid.
Hall,
they're gonna. They had a tough year last year. They're probably going to struggle a little bit this year, but they're one of those teams you can't sleep on.
Right.
Don't go in there thinking they're going to win. By 40 points, because they will fight you till the end, and they're gonna win some games this year, no question about that.
Definitely. And wrestling starts tonight, Thursday night.
You love wrestling now.
I do. And we have a couple guys that I think are definitely Trent Smagala is coming back. He's a reigning state champ. He's only a junior. He's committed to Cornell University. His younger brother only lost twice last year. He was around 34-2.
That's a wrestling family right there.
Caleb, and they have a couple younger guys still coming up. And Ichabod has some really good guys. Omar Gomez is ranked. Aiden Cullen over in Greenville is ranked.
How about Takana Kills?
Takana Kills has a couple guys. Zion Brown, who's I think he's number 4 or 5 ranked for his weight class.
Big kids, tough.
Yeah, we have a lot of guys. It's going to be a good start to the season tonight.
No question about it. Look forward to it. I know you are especially.
Yeah, and we'll have to
wrestling closely.
Hopefully get some of those guys in here, and we'll see you next week on, again, the Press Box, presented by Columbia Green Federal